What's up, guys? This is Christmas. That's really my name. I wanted to do a Star Wars movie review for the movie The Last Jedi. There's a couple of things on here that I really loved and I just wanted to share with people about it. First off, 5 reasons why I love Star Wars The Last Jedi. One, Ren and Rey, their dynamic relationship that they have for things that we see alluded to in the trailer. They're talking about, you see where she's like, I need someone to show me my place in all of this. That's a little funny. And so you see that it's alluded to in the preview that, maybe Rey's going to turn to the dark side. And in the first few minutes of the movie, one thing that's really cool is her and Ren kind of syncing up and talking about that together. With them coming together, that way you're like, well, geez, is she going to turn to the dark side or is he going to turn to the light? That conflict is a theme that we see in a lot of the Star Wars movies. Prime example would be Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker. They still kind of have that same relationship effect, but the interesting piece about this, the twist that we have in here, is that Rey's parents, or the interview, is that Rey's parents are nobody. I still want to think that they are somebody involved in this whole big thing. But the theme that we can take from this is that the Force is with everybody. You don't have to be a Skywalker to be a Jedi. You don't have to have that kind of bloodline in order to be, one with the Force, so powerful, or all that stuff. So I really liked that allusion to it. Probably my favorite scene in the whole movie was when they fought against the Emperor. And just the slow motion, them turning back to back and having that big old lightsaber fight was really awesome. So I like that a ton. The other thing, which I thought was neat too, number 2 would be leadership. The idea that they're trying to groom Poe Dameron to figure out what it means to be a leader. Really cool. That was a nice character development. I would like to see a little bit more of Poe Dameron and Finn. I like to see the more comical relationship of maybe a good cop, bad cop interaction between those two, because I think that's kind of a funny relationship that would be really good to see develop just a little bit more and have their interaction. I love when the general sacrifices herself going to light speed and she shoots through the dreadnought, which I thought was awesome. The explosion was great. The idea that it was a self-sacrifice using light speed to take it out. Really, really cool move. It was kind of breathtaking. Really fun. The reason number 3, legacy. I love character arcs. I think character arc, the hero's journey, is the most important element of a movie. That's the thing that draws us in the most. If you look at movies like Rocky or the early Star Wars, we saw Luke Skywalker become somebody huge, which was awesome. Luke and Leia and their connection there, which was really beautiful. I think they handled that in such a great way when he shows up and talks to her. She goes, I'm glad you're here when this is the end. And I think there's a couple layers to that. Her saying that line could actually be a reference to real life, because it was the end for her. The last year of her life, which she ended up passing away. Such a cool thing to acknowledge the Force within Leia, like who she was and how much power she had inside the movie when we thought she was going to die, and I was like, okay, well, this is it. This is where Leia's going to die, and she didn't. She didn't pass away, which was really cool. Interesting to see how they're going to kind of play that out. Mark Hamill still being alive is the guy that passes away, or is transfigured, if you will, just much like Master Yoda. I read a movie review online where he did not like that. A lot of people were pretty upset. They'd say the quote from a different reviewer was that they killed Luke Skywalker for no reason. Well, if you look back at the very first, The Empire Strikes Back, where Obi-Wan Kenobi, we lose him to Darth Vader. I mean, just moments into the movie, that he's transfigured as well. Luke being exhausted, he had basically teleported his physical being all the way across the galaxy, across the universe, to save his sister and the rest of the family. So I thought that was a great way to kind of finish the legend. I like how they dealt with the aspect of becoming a legend. So Luke Skywalker was this master Jedi, but he still wasn't perfect. And I think when you talk about being a master and when you're committing yourself as a master in your own personal life, personal growth and development and still dealing with disappointment and failure is a big part of that. So it was a wonderful lesson, I thought, to be taken away, that the Luke Skywalker, who is this huge dominant character, could still have imperfections and can still have things that would go wrong, so much to the point that he'd isolate himself from friends, family, cut himself off from the Force for decades. So that's really cool. I also love the element of the beaten down warrior, the warrior who's just seen enough and who doesn't want anymore, and who comes back to fight for one last hurrah. Really, really cool. The epic battle at the end was awesome. I totally enjoyed that. Luke Skywalker being there with the lightsaber fight with Kylo Ren. I still can't say that I'm totally in love with the lightsaber fights that I've seen so far. I think Star Wars fans really want to see some amazing lightsaber fights. I have not yet seen one in any of the Star Wars movies that I love the most. I would say the closest would be J.J. Abrams with the Force Awakens, which is really cool. There's a lot of intensity and suspense with those lightsaber fights, but I still feel like there could be more somehow that would invoke a reaction within me like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. That hasn't happened yet for me in a Star Wars movie, but nonetheless, as a Star Wars person, people will love what they get, and they hit the mark pretty good there. Let's see, number 4 was the climactic lightsaber scene. I already talked about that. I love how it goes slow motion and that they're back to back. It was a beautiful visual representation of what the Force is. It's that balance between good and evil again. So it goes slow motion right when they commit to help each other. And you see the foreshadowing throughout the movie as they're setting it up. She says, I see conflict in you. And he goes, I see you turning to the dark side. And they were. In their own self-respect or in their own perspectives, they kind of were a little bit in that moment. And then they break off again and choose, which side is theirs. Her choosing the light and him sticking with the darkness, or so we see so far. The lightsaber battles there, they were really good. They were really good, and I liked them. They were fun. I just liked that they were teaming up and just kind of having that, let's call it a Thor-Loki relationship, where it's just like, you're my enemy, but at the same time, we'll join forces just to get this done. So that's, again, a wonderful layer to that relationship to the film as well. And I talked about number 5, the character arc. Again, we're talking about bringing Luke and Leia from the very first time that we ever saw. 40 years? Are we talking 40 years now? All the way full circle, what comes with them now? And Leia becomes this general, but she still has the power of the Force within her, even though she hasn't had the formal training of Luke, which I think is a great illusion and gives free reign or carte blanche to Ren and her character, or say Rey and her character, to develop. So that's really exciting. The one thing, or a couple things maybe, that I didn't love so much was the Starship Cruisers being stuck kind of in this very slow scene where it's just like, okay, we can't go further, we can't go anywhere. And so the Starship Destroyers and the Dreadnought are just going to sit there and fire at them because they're just out of range. It didn't quite make a ton of sense. I thought that was kind of a setup that wasn't very entertaining, or in some regards, but in some ways I think it worked because it created the timeline, the much needed countdown for destruction if the heroes didn't pull through. And then the last thing, again, that I didn't love a ton but would like to see more of is maybe a good cop or bad cop relationship, or something more fun something more comedic from Poe Dameron and Finn. So, yeah, those are my reviews. Let me know what you think. I'm open to criticism, and I want to know what you guys think. These are the themes that I kind of extracted, and would like to keep doing some of these because I love movies so much. Thanks.